Alright, My Adventures with Superman, the brand new anime Superman series. It's on HBO Max and Adult Swim. I've seen 6 episodes. Is it good? Is it bad? Let's talk about it. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're talking My Adventures with Superman, an anime Superman series premiering on HBO Max and Adult Swim. It already did, but I got the chance to binge the first 6 episodes yesterday. Let's talk about it. So Clark Kent builds his secret Superman identity and embraces his role as the hero of Metropolis while sharing adventures and falling in love with Lois, a star investigative journalist who also takes Jimmy Olsen under her wing. And I've only seen 6 episodes. Like I said, I binged them yesterday, so let me know if you want to see me come back at the end of the series and give it a score or an updated score. I'm going to do that in this review, but it definitely has the possibility to go up or down when the series progresses. I know a lot of people have seen the next few episodes, so I'm really excited to see what I think about them. But what we have so far, we're going to talk about it today, and I'm just going to say this series has progressively gotten better. At the beginning of the show, the story felt unfocused. I wasn't sure where it was going. I wasn't sure what I was doing there. I was a bit I wasn't all in with this show like I wanted to be, and I wasn't as invested. But that's going to happen with almost every show. You're not going to be as invested in the story and the characters and everything going on until the show keeps on progressing, and it keeps getting better. In this case, it does keep getting better, and we've seen other examples. For example, Secret Invasion a couple weeks ago, it started out really strong, and then it just kept getting worse, and at the end, it was a massive disappointment. Here, I think it kept getting better, and the finale of Secret Invasion, for example, is definitely a lot worse than the beginning of this show.
Why?
So the standards, the level is a lot higher, if you wanted context for that. But I do feel like in the beginning of the show, the story did feel unfocused at times, and it felt like there were many scenes where they didn't really know what to do, and they just kind of like went to filler, so they didn't have anything to really focus on or do anything. And because of that, they introduce a new villain, and then there's an action scene because they want to keep the audience entertained. But the actual story, we're not gaining anything from those sequences, so that was kind of like a gripe that I had at the beginning. But then the more the show kept going on, I was just looking at it and I was like, okay, that was not necessary at all, and I don't think you needed to have that in the show whatsoever. And it kind of took away from those really, really good sequences that we were having with the main trio. And I'm just going to talk about this. The characters, the trio, it might be the best part about this show. They're incredible. Clark Kent, amazing. Lois Lane, amazing. And Jimmy is a character that was so much more fleshed out when the season progressed than I was thinking it would be. And the main trio, it's not just a duo with Lois and Clark, it's a trio, and their chemistry, the way they interact, and then the way they interact as the series progresses, I was all in. I was so in awe of what was happening. And combining that with the animation style, there were certain scenes where characters got emotional, and they were kind of revealing secrets about themselves, and something that was kind of really emotional. And while that was happening, and this reminds me of Across the Spider-Verse, and while the animation isn't nearly as good as Across the Spider-Verse, it's great. And the actual animation style changes. Like the watercolor kind of on the screen starts to go places, and it starts to move around, kind of like Across the Spider-Verse that came out this year. And it just, 2023, what a year for animation and integrating so many styles of animation, so many movies that we have had this year. Great animation, the incredible animation. Here, it's no different. They really used the animation style to tell the story, and that's something that I think is Across the Spider-Verse changed cinema, animation cinema mostly, but also cinema, but it also just let people know that you can tell stories using animation, and animation isn't just something where like, oh, it's a kid's movie, so we should just make it animated. No, that's a way of telling the story, and I'm repeating myself a lot, but it's really cool how this stuff is happening now, and I'm just really enjoying it. And when the emotions change, the animation changes, and then you mix that with the characters, and everything just comes together so nicely. And I will say, when they interact with each other, the humor doesn't always work. Like, there are some jokes that they said, and I'm watching it and like I wasn't laughing. I watched it by myself, but I just feel like if this movie was in a theater, it would be kind of embarrassing because no one would be laughing. But then when there actually are some great jokes, they actually do land and they really work. And I really enjoyed those sequences because there are so many sequences. I think it was like episode 3, 4, or 5. One of those, because I binged the entire thing, so I don't really remember. But one of those sequences, there was just like a funny sequence in that episode that was so hilarious. I was laughing so hard throughout the entire thing. So the humor, it's a bit up and down. You get some humor that just misses the mark, and then you have some humor that just, it works so well within the story, and I loved it. But still, and this is going to sound bad, when this show starts to unravel, and again, that sounds bad, but it doesn't, I don't mean that in a bad way. It kind of reveals its layers to it, especially the character of Jimmy, who is, I was like not all there in the first episode and the second episode, but the more we got the more he kept revealing his layers, and there's a huge arc with these three characters because of Jimmy. It was amazing, and I related to Jimmy a lot in the series because me and Jimmy were the cool dudes. We're the Steves, as they say. But yeah, I really enjoyed his character arc. And then you have like the entertainment in this show. It started out, and like I said in the beginning, I've said this a lot, but I wasn't all therein on the first few episodes, but it kept getting more entertaining and engaging when the series kept progressing, and I was really on board with everything happening, and I just thought that the show kept getting more interesting and entertaining and also emotional, and I liked it a lot. Then you have the voice cast, and I don't think it was as good as it could have been. They definitely don't sound like their actual characters in real life and in the live-action Superman movies, but still, I think the more you get introduced to them and the more they keep growing as characters, it didn't bother me at all. I just think they could have made them sound a little bit more like the characters. But then the actual performances from the voice acting, it feels like they're in the recording booth together, because that's how just they connect. It feels like they're actually talking to each other in real life. And in this movie, obviously, when they look at each other, it feels like they're actually looking at each other in real life. And Jack Quaid is great as Superman. I really enjoyed his presence. Whenever Clark or Superman is on screen, I was really enjoying his character, his presence, his performance as an actor. And then Alice Lead as Lois. The performance was great. I really liked it. But I also feel like it was a lot different than what you got in other Superman movies. In so many others, I mean, like, if you compare it to the 1978 version of Superman, it's completely different. And she's a character who in this series is kind of starting out with the Daily Planet, and she's kind of getting introduced to all of this. It's only been 1 year, I think. So it kind of, she feels a bit more confident in everything she's doing than I feel like normal Lois doing that would, because especially in 1978, she is a lot less confident. And Margot Kidder, I mean, I don't really want to talk about that performance because it's kind of all up and down. But here, I think the performance is a lot better, and I think the way the actual acting was great. I just don't think they fit the actual character, if that makes sense. And Ishmael Sahid is actually really good in this show, and I feel like this is the recurring theme. Like, so many of these actors in the show are really good actors and also voice actors, and also just like really good at playing their characters, and their performances are really good, but the actual characters the voices don't really resemble the actual characters, and the actual characters, they don't really feel like their original characters, and they kind of do a spin on it. Again, it doesn't bother me. It's just like kind of a warning for you if that will bother you. And also, it was kind of a jarring shift at the beginning of the show, but that's all fine. And the target audience for this movie, I also think, is a bit kind of confusing. I think kids will definitely enjoy it, but there are a lot of themes in this show that they won't understand or appreciate, and there are some sequences where they're gonna watch it and be like, okay, but then, you have like a lot of the scenes that are just like they're made for kids, and then there's a jarring shift where it's not made for kids. So kind of up and down with that. I don't know. It's kind of hard with the target audience because I don't really know who this is for. It's really for adults. I think adults will probably enjoy this show the most out of everyone, which is crazy to me. But the kids who watch this will definitely enjoy it, but they won't really understand the actual deeper meaning of the show. So I definitely, like I said, they're gonna enjoy it, but I don't know if they're gonna appreciate everything in it. But the score, oh my god, it's great. I really, really enjoyed the score, especially in the end credits. Dominic Lewis, who I think composed the score, did a great job. I really liked the vibe of the score, and it was really, really engaging and entertaining.
It's beautiful.
And it really went along with everything happening, and I really appreciated how different it was and unique it was from other scores that we get from Superman, and it paid homage to the original score while not completely copying it, and I really appreciated that. And then the end credits, I really think you should stick with the end. You should stick around for the end credits because the score there is great, and they do something creative that revolves Jimmy. Jimmy really started out as like, I don't know where this character is going, but the more we get introduced, I was like, I'm all in. I think Jimmy may actually be my favorite character in this entire show. Now, I will say in this show, they do build up plot points in episodes, and then they just kind of completely get forgotten about. One in particular that happens in, I think, episode 5, they just kind of build up something, and you're kind of confused by it as the audience, but then they just kind of they keep going along with the other stories, and then they just kind of forget about everything that just happened. And it moves at a fast pace in some of the episodes, so maybe people won't understand a lot of the stuff that's going on, and they may not actually remember that there was a building up of a plot point. But I feel like they went away from certain things because they didn't know how to resolve that plot point, and maybe the answer was already there and I just didn't see it, or no one saw it. But I feel like the way they did it, they just didn't provide any further explanation on it, and it was just kind of an awkward decision. Additionally, I think there were some sequences, and I don't think this is actually true, but there were some sequences where I was watching and I was like, it felt like the script wasn't finished until they had written every single episode. And it feels like if you're on episode 1, they've only written the script for 2 episodes, and then they just kind of go, and then on episode 3, they do things that, 1 and 2, the first 2 episodes were consistent at, and then 3, they were like, oh, I think we should do this. And then they just continue doing that for the rest of the show. And I was just kind of like, I didn't understand why they couldn't put those things that they did into the first 2 episodes in the script. So it kind of was confusing to me. It didn't completely bother me. It was just something that I feel like it was kind of an obvious issue, and they didn't really think about it. So while writing the script.
How dare you!
Before I give you guys my score, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what your favorite Superman movies are, and if you enjoyed the series, have you seen it yet? Are you going to see it? Are you excited for the rest of the episodes? I mean, just comment whatever you want. I really appreciate it. While the story can feel a bit unfocused at times and the humor doesn't always work, some great animation, a unique score, and the unexpected emotion that comes from these characters easily makes up for that, and it makes My Adventures with Superman worth a watch on the biggest screen you can find. I'm going a 73% with my score. Really enjoyed this series, and I'm really excited to see where this show ends up in the final 4 episodes, where it is going. They kind of left off on a cliffhanger in episode 6, so I'm definitely excited for that, and I think they're doing a season 2, and there might have been confirmation, I'm not sure, but I think this is definitely worth a watch, like I said. But if you have seen it, again, let me know what you think about it. And I'm gonna go watch Oppenheimer again probably. See you soon.